Hello, my fellow crypto enthusiasts. My name is Tom and I am the Crypto Investor, and it's time for our weekly market roundup of the crypto space. And to give us that situational awareness, we start with the heat map of the top 100 coins. And you can see that overall, we have another red week with one small exception. Bitcoin is green, just green, by 0.9%, sitting at just shy of $36,000. And that is with the news catalyst like no other that has now been adopted as an official currency by a sovereign state, of course, talking about El Salvador. And perhaps that's the first domino to fall. There is, of course, other congressmen from the likes of Paraguay and Panama and Argentina who are changing their images on Twitter to laser eyes. How much you wish to read into that, up to you. But, you know, it is a rhetoric change, and there is chatter on CoinDesk that Honduras has actually made a policy change. I can't find anything else to substantiate that. And just now, about half an hour ago, Mr. Jack Dorsey, owner of Twitter and Square, has been tweeting about Nigeria, and he's just tweeted Nigeria handshake Bitcoin, which perhaps means a deal has been agreed or brokered in Nigeria. And, you know, there's a lot of excitement. Nigeria is another country which is losing millions and millions of dollars in remittance, money being sent home from workers abroad, and has a lot to gain from potentially adopting a cryptocurrency, be it Bitcoin or even a stable currency. So interesting to see that happening there. And as one columnist mentioned, you know, in a way, this feels like the stallions have left the stable, and there's no way of really corralling them back in. The cat is out the box. It feels like even though we aren't seeing necessarily very positive price action, we are seeing significant changes and developments in this crypto space. And Bitcoin's getting that kind of narrative change that it needed, the image crisis that it's been suffering on the back of, you know, the conversation about its energy usage with Elon Musk. We now have a discussion about economic empowerment and helping those who are unbanked. So, you know, very exciting to see what's happening in El Salvador. Really optimistic that this could be a force for good. It's a massive challenge for El Salvador. Big challenges await. But yes, really cool, exciting news in the crypto space. And that has led to, Bitcoin being bid somewhat. Ethereum's had a bit of a poor week for Ethereum, down 9%, and alts overall having a hard week, most of them down an average of 20% or so. You know, when we do get a turn down in the market, people tend to go for the blue chips, the better trusted cryptocurrencies, and so alts always suffer and come down the hardest, and that's what we're seeing. And for me, it feels like this is an inter-cycle bear market. I do believe I've said before in my videos that we have 2 or 3 months of sideways movement before we eventually recover. So let's just jump into the charts and start with a kind of clean chart with just the moving averages. And we talked about the def cross, and it looks, you know, it's almost inevitable. I think Ben from the Cryptoverse said that Bitcoin would need to rise by $1,500 a day to avoid def cross. And that was about 4 days ago. So probably $2,000 a day to avoid this def cross. They are going to cross over. Read into it what you will. I think they will momentarily cross over, and we will then come back up and make new all-time highs. We just have to remain patient. And you can see that even though we are making a slight series of lower highs, which is a bearish sign, most of all, you could say the same we saw here. We are kind of consolidating. We're building a nice area of strength here. So, you know, Bitcoin needs to hold the 30,000 key level. Let's just bring up some of my lines. And you can see this is our consolidation zone. And we had tested 30,000 once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and it has held. So it's a massive line in the sand. If we lose 30, then look out below. But what we really need to see for Bitcoin to start to make further moves upwards is, of course, a break of this trend line, which we continue to bump our head on and fail to get above. And I think it's quite possible that we see something like this happen, you know, that we could actually form some kind of wedge pattern here, where Bitcoin continues to find support at the 30,000, continues to hit its head on this overhead resistance and works its way down here before eventually, hopefully, breaking to the upside, or of course could break down further. For me, it's hard to picture that this will break down further, but we always have to consider that eventuality. I still think we see something like this. We just have a boring month or 2 or 3, and then we make our way up. And as I said before, you have to remember that these prices up here were kind of falsely inflated. This was to do with too much leverage in the system. It wasn't a fair representation of the market. And so, it will take some time for confidence to build, but we will eventually move higher. One of the examples of a lack of kind of interest and a dying down of the fickle retail crowd is Coinbase's app on the App Store was number 2 most downloaded app just 2 weeks ago, number 1 for many other weeks. This week, it's number 121. So it just shows you how quickly the retail crowd. Also YouTube, any of you who are watching now, thank you, great. Because 70% of crypto searchers on YouTube have gone away as well. And if you do get any value in content on the content I'm producing, please do like and subscribe. It really, really helps. I'm a new channel. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm just a guy on the internet. So do your own research. We have to get above this trend line. And until we do, we will continue to be pushed downwards, and we can't in any way start to feel bullish about Bitcoin. And I think Jordan from Conquer Trading and Investing is a great channel I follow. He has this trend line. He believes that if we get above here, that's when, if you were to use leverage, you could consider doing so. Really don't do that unless you are an experienced trader. But, this is when we can really start to pick up pace and say that, we're right back into a strong bull market. So that's the line in the sand that we have to clear there. So we were saying that Ethereum was having a bad week. This is Ethereum. We still maintain this nice, strong upward channel. Of course, we got massively ahead of ourselves for those few weeks in May, and we've come back down into this channel. We tested the lower limits of the channel yesterday. We found support. We've since come back upwards, and we obviously hope that we maintain this. So much good news on the horizon for Ethereum with E1 559 coming out shortly. The fact that layer 2 implementations are working. You may have noticed that gas is down to like $6, which should be helping, incidentally, the likes of DeFi. It hasn't yet to do so. Of course, people are going for safety. They're looking for those safer tokens. If you look at the DPI index, which is the aggregation of all the DeFi coins, or the top 20 DeFi coins, it actually broke down versus Ethereum. We thought that this would be the floor in the market. It had shown strong support as a floor in the market here. This is DeFi versus Ethereum, but it broke down 2 days ago, and we've since come down further. So, you could say that certainly that DeFi is cheap, but as people are looking for that security of Ethereum and Bitcoin, DeFi, like most other alts, is getting smashed up, unfortunately. So yeah, it's hard viewing, certainly for me, with a good 30% of my portfolio held in DeFi, but I have conviction long-term in the DeFi space, absolutely. And at least those assets are yielding, and I'll put more content on about how to do that if that's of interest to you. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, you can see that Bitcoin had continued to strengthen most of this week. Its dominance now sits up at 44%. It just came off in the last day or so. But overall, you would say that we haven't, there's no sign of a trend reversal. Perhaps we get more of a consolidation. Perhaps Bitcoin holds its dominance here, I think, before eventually breaking down. So as the markets consolidate, people want those risk-off assets. And then I think we come down further as more confidence comes back into the market in a few months or so time. And looking at Bitcoin versus Ethereum, just taking this down now. So we had overall this week, Bitcoin just had 4 strong days, gaining over Ethereum. In fact, it pulled back a 20% increase over Ethereum, only to find support at this trend line, which I had in place, that we had a touch here a touch here, and now a third touch. So I'm seeing a fair bit of significance. This was a trend line that was resistance, that broke to support, held as support, and is continuing to do so. So if you don't have this on your charts, I would encourage you to add this trend line. It looks pretty strong from where I'm sitting, and I added to my Ethereum yesterday on the back of it and shared it with a few channels that I participate in. So nice looking support there, and an engulfing candle. Ethereum needs to go on and get higher. This line here is the 50% flippening, where we found that resistance and turned around. We have a little dolphin emoji. If Bitcoin is to be flipped by Ethereum, one day we need to get up to here, this 0.16 level. So some way to go on this trajectory. We'd be looking at early next year or so. All right, and then taking a look at the total market cap of crypto, you wouldn't say that we have totally lost momentum. We are still in a upward trend, but I think, as I said, we just need some consolidation before moving further up. Just jumping into looking at Bitcoin in the rainbow, beautiful log scale, and just that if in doubt zoom out approach, and you can see that these lines that are set between the different colors are effectively resistant lines, and I believe actually I can show you this on one of my other charts here. Let's jump to this one. So bear with me, dear viewer. Here we go. Let's chuck this into logarithmic. Okay, take this onto the weekly. Hang in there, people. All right, so you can see that reset price. You can see that these kind of resistance and support lines coincide, similar to those rainbow lines that you had on there, and they, these are long-term trend lines. So we can take this line, for example, that was resistance, 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 and then flipped into support, and was, we've had interactions with it here, and it's now holding as resistance. So, even on these kind of macro timeframes, these levels are significant, and you can see that that is perfectly where we are finding support. So, just have that awareness there, and it really does offer some solace to zoom out and look at Bitcoin on these kind of timescales. I feel that, we do something like this, it gets boring, and then we work our way up and, perhaps peak out on this cycle 120, 140 or so, with Ethereum potentially around the 8,000 mark. They're my outrageous predictions. So another coin on my radar this week is the ICP. This has just had the most, since launching a month or so ago, it's just been in this downward trend, getting absolutely wrecked. And, until we do see that support from Bitcoin and Ethereum, it will continue to do so. But just watching carefully, if it can get above this trend line, which it's in, it's not doing so now, but if it can, then this would represent a really nice entry on what potentially is a very, very important token for the future. So yeah, I am watching that there. I will also just set an alert on the 100 mark as well, and let you know as and when we do break above there, because that clearly is a big psychological resistance line. If we can break above there, that will make a nice entry on this token too. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Happy investing, everyone, and I will speak to you very, very soon. All the best.